Hello everyone, welcome back to more Bombe, but still working on the implications of negative regions, negative mines. I haven't set the robots loose on the rest of these levels. Let's look at some new novel problems, huh? What's going on here? Whoa! Okay, I didn't understand this was a thing that could happen. I guess I was not wrong in that, but okay. So, it's true that cells can be marked as negative, and that causes an ordinary region to produce, or an ordinary clue to produce a region that's partially negative and partially positive. But apparently it's also possible for a region, a clue to be marked as negative, which causes all the unmarked regions to produce, or all the unmarked cells. This clue is a negative one, which means any unmarked cells as part of it contribute a negative mine to the total. And any marked cells contribute a positive mine to the total. Oh dear. Okay. I mean, I guess that's not really anything special. This cell is still a negative mine. It just counts as one towards this region. Okay, so I don't think I care about this. It just means that there are going to be... Well, I do care. But it means that you can now have regions where... or overlaps of cells where... of regions where the two different regions view a single cell differently. Right? For the purposes of approaching this -1, this cell counts as a positive mine, in a way, right? Because it's a negative mine, and that's what this -1 wants. Interesting. Okay. So I think at the very end of the last video, I was saying, oh, well, I'll never have an issue where I overlap a net 2 real, regions generated by actual hints, and there's an overlap of their negative part and their positive part. Turns out that actually totally can happen. All right. So what am I supposed to do here? Indeed, it is about the overlap of these two things. So this tells me that these two are the same, does it not? Why is this not sufficient? All right, so give me the hint again. There's different ways of approaching this puzzle, huh? It could decide to leave these 3, or... okay. But give me this hint. Let's hide this, go look at the hidden rules, and get this back. Now, is the puzzle still solvable? Yes. Okay. That's what I thought. Because I thought the 0 here, this hint, this region, is just telling me about the parity of those two cells, and it is. Okay. But I'm not so sure I can derive a very useful meaning from this. Because if I try to do something like say, oh, when there's a region with positive and negative clues, and, and they overlap with a region of even parity, then, that means something about the rest of it. Because this even parity could... It's true because this region is of size exactly 2 and can contain 0 or 2 mines. It wouldn't be true if this region could contain, like, 6 mines, necessarily. I don't know. So, I mean, one thing I could do, I suppose, is look at this rule and say... like, this is actually a 0 or 2 region. That's something I could write. 0 or 2 regions are quite powerful, so I don't mind writing that rule. But it would be nice to write a more general version. I guess I can't really. Well, I can be a little more general. So if its size... If it's marked as x plus 2k, and its size is at most x plus 2 plus 2k, I can't say at most, can I? Well, if its size is at most, sorry, x plus 2, like so, then it has to have at least x, and it has at most x plus 2, so it has either x or x plus 2. Like so. Oh. That's interesting. Isn't this overlap kind of useful somehow? Maybe. So I can hide this region now. I'm sure the puzzle's still solvable. Yes. Yeah, but give me back the regions I just made, you sicko. Now this is sort of... maybe this is a better way to look at the puzzle now. If I know there are 1 or 3 here, I guess that isn't that helpful. I was thinking I could ignore these 2, but of course I can't. So take me back. Well, okay, let's hide a bunch of stuff. Hide this as well. And I don't know what parts I want to work with anymore. I'm lost already. I thought I had an idea, but I no longer do. There's actually something kind of interesting going on with these 0 or 2s, isn't there? It's basically saying either all of these 3 are empty or they're all full. Right, a size 2, 0 or 2 region is very powerful. Or does it even have to be size 2? I'm not sure. I think it does. Because it basically says these 2 cells are the same. They're either both off or both on. So one thing we could do, I don't think it's especially useful here. But we could. Is we could mark this as a 0 or 3 region. And I mean, why not? Ta-da! And then all these 0 or 2s are suddenly uninteresting. They've been collapsed into this 0 or 3 region. Which doesn't especially help at the moment. But I just like deriving true facts. That's what I'm here on this earth to do. I don't like that hint. Give me a new one. I don't like... Okay, well this one's the worst. I don't know. Why am I even... Why don't I... If I know what hint I want. Okay. Well, actually, this one's kind of interesting, isn't it? If these two are the same, then can we not derive a new, like, simpler rule that's just saying these have a total of -1? I thought there was something in the updates saying that you can now mark negative numbers, and I haven't figured out how to do that. Let me go check the Steam updates. Introducing negative bombs. Regions. New regions with negative cells can be made by right-clicking. Negative numbers are available in the numbers box by holding control? What? I don't understand what that means. In the numbers box? Oh, in the size of the region, I guess? So I think, for example, I don't know that this is the rule I want to make, but I think I could say that, where is it? A region of size exactly -1 exists here, right? Look! And that solved the puzzle. But go back. I didn't actually want to... I just wanted to see. I hate that rule. Levels. Turn off the robots. Go back to... I think it was 21? Or... Well, I don't know. I think, yeah, it was this one, right? Yeah, so I don't actually want this rule. But that's how I can write a negative rule. It's a... okay. It is a rule of size 1 with a negative part here and, I guess, a positive part here? I'm not sure. What did that mean? Yeah, so I could say this whole area has size -1, and that's illogical. But +1 here and -1 here is okay. And this would be the opposite of correct. Okay, interesting. So this is just the rule I already had. Cancel. But if I go to this rule and delete it... then this rule no longer solves. Let me just reset levels. So that it no longer thinks I've solved that level. I mean, I don't think that's a bad... Oh, what? It didn't solve level 7 with this? I'm pretty sure I had... Oh, wait. No? I had a solution to this before, didn't I? This is not the level we were just stuck on. Oh, it's this level. I broke my solution to this level? by editing some rule? That's interesting. Huh. How did I do that? I don't remember editing a rule that would care about this. So what should happen is there should be a 2 or more here, but there isn't. Okay, well I must have accidentally changed that rule, or changed it intentionally, not understanding the consequences in a bad way. So what rule do I have that's supposed to address this? I mean, none of them, obviously. None of these do that. But I thought I had one. Very weird. Okay. Well, let's write one, I guess. If we have an X or fewer overlapping with an X plus Y plus K or more, then there are at least Y plus K out here? Yeah, that solves that. I must have somehow deleted that rule. Like, instead of hitting cancel there, I hit delete on a screen like that one or something? Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is not the hint I want. That one's not so great either. I want this, but instead of 1 plus 2k, I want 1 or 3, I think. This. Well, actually, now that I think of it, maybe the 0 or 2 version of this rule is kind of useful. Oh, of course, because of my okay, reset region. Because of my manually hidden regions, it was only willing to show me 1. All right, whatever. I'll do it by hand. So hide this. Bring me back the 0 or 2. So again, size 2, 0 or 2s are very powerful. And in this case, I think we want to say, if there's a size 2, 0 or 2, on opposite sides of a negative, we can basically throw away this whole part and get a new one over here, yeah? So if there's an X sized positive and negative region, and the 0 or 2 straddles it, then we can make another X-sized positive or negative region in the part that doesn't overlap. Ah, and that solved it. That's cool. Wait, why did that solve it, though? Go back. I didn't think super hard about it, but I didn't think it was going to solve it. This one. There. So why did, well, I don't know. I still wish there were like apply one rule button, but there isn't. gosh. There's tags now. They weren't there before. Weird. Okay. So making this its own region apparently was enough to solve it in some way. I guess because it had to be a region of size effectively 1. And the only way it could do that was by marking, I don't know, whatever. I'll take it. Is this my only hint, or are there other approaches? So 1 or fewer, intersecting with 2 zeros, including negatives? Well, here's a version of thinking about it that doesn't... Okay, that's kind of nice. That doesn't care at all about negative rules. This is something you could have solved before. So, don't this one and this one, these two cells have to be the same? By parity here? Yeah, I did the different version of this rule. I didn't do the same version of this parity rule. So... if these are each x plus 2k... then the part where they don't overlap is just 2k, right? Out of curiosity, what happens if I try to write a negative number here? Negative 2k? I think that seems logical to me. No. Well, I mean, isn't minus 1 a multiple of negative 2? Or isn't 2 a multiple of negative 2? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, this is what I want to actually write. So we can now say these two are the same. Is that enough to solve the puzzle? No. Does it simplify things? Yes. Sure. If we have an x plus 2k region fully embedded in a region with at most x plus 1 mines. Then this x plus 2k is actually just an x clue, right? And that'll turn this into a 0, and that should solve the puzzle, indeed. Well, go get me this 1 or fewer should be under here, please. Hide this 1. If there's an x or more fully embedded within an x or fewer, then you can clear the part out here where they don't overlap. Sure. If there's 1 mine here, have I just not done just haven't done the version of subtracting from partially negative regions. Okay. So if there's X mines inside of an X plus Y, inside of a positive region of an X plus Y labeled region, then the part where they don't overlap is, hello? Oh, I have to click here. Is a Y-sized partially positive region. So this has given me this somewhere? Where's the region this gave me? Shouldn't I have gotten... Here it is. This is the new region I derived. What does this mean? So obviously if I put a 1 here, then these two would be the same. And if these two were the same, then I need a mine here and not here. Now if I put a 0 here, the puzzle's over. I can't... No, I would need a mine here. They would differ. These two. Well, if I put a 0 here, there would have to be a mine here. And not here. And that would make this one region impossible to satisfy. Because a mine here and not here means we need a total of 2 in this area, and there's only 1 to place. But what's the general, like, version of that? Is it really... So here's a different way of looking at the problem, huh? These are useful somehow. I don't know about that. Yeah, it seems like that's the main... I mean, those are the only 2 things Hint knows how to satisfy it down to simplify it down to. Doesn't mean it's the only way to make progress. As always, I could find some way to look at a different set of rules and create some intermediate rule that could combine with these 2 to solve, but there does seem to be something fairly negative-oriented going on here. So what if I try to build my own minimal solution? What does it look like? Like, do I care about the fact that there are an even number here? Probably not, right? Just trying to see if I can get to some... Like, this is clearly not that useful. Parity here? That's kind of interesting, isn't it? But it's strictly a weaker version of this clue, this region. Which could be nice. There's nothing wrong with strictly weaker versions of clues if it lets you derive some more general... Like, if you can derive information from a weak version of a region, then that's applicable in more cases, because you'll more often... Anytime you have strong information, you're guaranteed to also have the weak information, is the idea. So anything I could derive from this would be more useful than something I could derive from this. So, okay, let's see if I can derive something from those. Like, I mean, is there some parity-based thing going on here? What if I got rid of everything but the parity rules? There probably isn't, but let's have a look. Because parity is a fairly rich source of anything. Okay, let's say these are all of just like a lot of stuff happens when you look at parity. Is all I'm saying. But it's very dangerous because you can, well, not dangerous, it kind of is, right? You can get parity information in a lot of cases, and often it's not that useful. And so you just spew parity notes all over the board if you start working with this stuff too much. It's black magic, right? It's infectious. But... if these two... Yeah, so this is, for example, some information I already derived. I was like, oh, I could derive this, but I already have that rule. From the way these two interact, we get this. Not very helpful. Actually, you know what would be interesting? What if I said, hide... hide this negative region. Is the puzzle still solvable? No. Hide this negative region. Is the puzzle still solvable? No. Now, there's one more negative region, and this one I created. No, I didn't. If I hide this one, oops. If I hide this one, is the puzzle still solvable? And it says yes. I've already shown you it's with these. This, right. This is the one I created from here. And it actually is sort of useful, which is nice. Oh, okay. So we have to understand how these two interact with each other somehow. I mean, I could always move on. You know, I mean, turn on the robots, right? And you can see I've solved, I don't know, a largest number of these puzzles, but certainly not all of them. We could go look at a different puzzle. But this seems sort of fundamental. Like, this kind of interaction should happen a lot. Where two clues are facing each other, and they see their overlap differently because one of them's negative and the other's positive. I don't know. I don't like it. 16? What does this mean? Checkmark lock 16? I don't have any idea what that means, but maybe it found 16 regions when the robots tried to solve it? I don't know. Let's move on to the next level in this area I haven't solved. Yeah, it looks like it's the number of regions the robots produced. Interesting. I don't know why the check mark... Maybe it means... using rules you didn't trash or hide, the problem is still solvable? I don't know. So let's look at this one. Like here, at least there's only one negative rule. But it claims that 3 regions are necessary to solve the puzzle. So I can't just write some overlap for all of them. Because 2 of them are negative. So here's a way it came up with where only 1 negative rule is needed. So I could just like overlap all of these regions. I really don't like doing 4 region overlaps. In this case, I guess it's 3, but one of them is negative. Still not great. So it's sort of interesting, I guess, to say that since there's at least one of these 2 cells, and this area has a 1 or 3, if this cell were a mine, it would have to be a 3, right? Like there would have to be 3 in this area, because at least one of these would have to be. So this being a mine is sort of constraining in a way that making one of these 2 a mine wouldn't be. But I don't think there's a good way to say that. Like, I can't say, oh, there's at least 1 in this area, therefore this goes from a 1 or 3 to a 0 or 2. Right? Because there could actually be 2 in this area, and then this would be a 1. So why is this 3 interesting? Especially when it has so much freedom out here. You could mark both of these mines, for example, and then this would just be a 1 region in the overlap of interest. But I guess it doesn't have to work that way. It could mark both of these, for example, and just one of these. Yeah, it seems like this 3 has a lot of freedom in the area we're interested in, and yet apparently it constrains things enough to force something. Yeah, these negative minds, man. I'm not used to thinking this way. I guess. So the reason we can tell this is a mine is, I already said, because of the intersection of these 2 rules, this implies this. And not this also implies this, because there's no way to get the 3 up to total otherwise, right? So in fact, this, well, yeah. But you can't do that kind of, case analysis or implication. We don't get implication. A powerful logical tool not available to Bombe diffusers. So I could yeah, this 3 region, couldn't I wouldn't Yeah, these two cells here don't matter. I could cut them off and make this a one region, I think, and I could still make the same inference. This forces this, and not this also forces this. I don't want to do that, to be clear. I don't, in general, like making a rule that's just like, oh, make... Well, I mean, I guess I couldn't do that because I don't know what these are. I couldn't, in general, do that. I could do it on this puzzle. Well, but a 1 or 3... No. Alright, let's go look at another puzzle. I don't know what to do with this one. Ah, this looks very familiar. This is just some normal shit. No negative minds, nothing funny. The issue is... Yeah, you can't mark either of these. Well, that's impossible. Of course, you must mark one of them. You can't mark... Wait. Yeah. You can't mark this one, because then both of these squares of the 2 would be forbidden. So you have to mark this one instead. But I can't remember... It's been like a year and a half since I played this game. I can't remember a good general way to do this. If... Anything that starts with if is going to be no good. 3 rules in the trash? Oh, that makes sense, I guess. Wouldn't 1 or more here also still be a problem, right? Like so. Still solvable, but you can only solve this one. That's fine. And likewise, 2 or more here is still enough. And I believe 1 or fewer here is enough. Yep. Okay. So that's the more general, a more general version. But it really is fundamentally this is about the intersection of 3 rules. There isn't any one rule simplification you can do here because they all touch in such limited ways that only in the interaction of 3 of them do you get anything interesting. Gosh, I used to be so much smarter, or at least more familiar, more used to, used to how this kind of stuff interacted and how to define a rule. So I just, not because I was smarter, obviously, and that's a joke, but because I had done a lot more Bombe recently. I guess in some sense, I'm saying, like, what I really care about doesn't involve this cell out here, right? I kind of want, and this is so bad for, like, computationally manageable rule sets. What I kind of want, and again, this is want in a sense of, like, I wish I could just say, pretend there was a space marked here. Like, there's at least one in these two, right? I could write that. There. Now, is that actually going to do anything? I mean, it marks it. Is that enough to solve the puzzle? No. I'm actually surprised. Yeah, there we go. So now there's a simpler region. But again, I don't want to actually define this rule. It lets me start saying, oh, well, like, because there's one or more here, and I have two one or fewers, then we can say the mine for this has to go into one of these two regions, and therefore neither of them can put a mine here. Right? That's kind of how I want to define this. The problem is, doing so means defining a very unpleasant rule. I don't need it to be this specific, but I do need to, like, just define a shrunk, strictly less powerful version. Well, it's not strictly less powerful, but... okay. Yeah, I remember hating this rule. Sort of, I think. Let's make it very low priority, at least. Where if I have... like... an X or more region. An X plus 1 or more region. An X plus Y or more region. An outside area of Y. Overlapping, let's say, with any positive region and any negative region. Maybe we say it's worth defining that sub-region. And actually there are X or more, not 1 or more. So this is a rule I could define. It's more general, but it's just going to fire uselessly so often, isn't it? Yeah, see, the robots have churned through a bunch of levels with that rule and basically solved none of them. What? Why is it taking you so long to find a good hint? Oh, probably because I accidentally double-clicked or something. I'm doing that all the time. My mouse needs to be fixed. I need a new mouse. Wait, did I not even generate the region I wanted? I wanted a 1 or more between these two. And I didn't get it. Wait. Oh, not x plus y plus 1, x plus y, I think. Edit rule. Yeah, update that, please. Okay, look, it actually marked them on. This is solving things. The problem is it's a rule that's firing like 1,000 times and leading eventually to marking 2 cells. That's why it's a bad rule. And now I can write this rule that I sort of like. Even though it's specific to 1, it's gonna come up pretty often, I think. I remember writing a rule like this one. And I tried to generalize it to X and it doesn't quite work in the way that I wanted it to. Let's just write it as is, shall we? Don't care about the size of any of these regions. But you can't put a mine where the minuses intersect and the plus doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, hang on. I thought this was just the. I thought this region of zeros was just these two. And I was like, you can show me the 0 or 2 instead of this negative nonsense. But it's not the case. Really? What can you tell from just these two regions? Apparently a lot. Boy, is it? I don't think I'm imagining this. Yeah, these, when you have the hint on, these two cells are different colors, but it's so unbelievably, like, the contrast here is like nothing. Bredge is trying to hint to me that, like, okay, yeah, these are green cells, and also this one's negated. It's, like, impossible to see. Now, it doesn't really matter, because the regions are all that really matters. But, like, I don't know, if you don't want me to see it, don't even show it at all. Don't show it in this passive-aggressive way where I need, like, you know, a microscope to tell that this is a different color than this is, or whatever. Microscope's not the right tool, but... If you think it's important to show these two are different, make it in a way I can actually see that they're different, is all I'm saying. Get rid of this rule that we hate. So you can't, for example, mark both of these cells. Because if you did, there wouldn't be a large enough... There wouldn't be... You'd have to put in 4 more mines in this section, and there wouldn't be room. Okay, but how is that helpful? I think you can't mark this cell either, because then you'd have to mark this one and not this one, which would ruin the 2. You wouldn't have room for 3 mines in these 2 cells. But again, that kind of, like, imagine this were a mine. Would there be a problem? You can't use that as your rule. No guess and check allowed. So I guess likewise, that's why you can't have a mine. You can't have a mine here, because then you'd need all 3 of these, but then to balance out to 0, you'd need a mine here, and then the 2 would be broken. So how do you... I want to understand the intersection of these in some general way, but I just hate when you have to overlap. Yeah, of course, the hint's only ever going to show me this. When you have to overlap 2 negatives and, like, it's just very, very specific stuff. This being even, does that matter? Not exactly. This being 2 or more, I imagine, is not interesting. This being 2 or 4 is probably not interesting either. And then we're down to just the ones it wants me to talk about. I mean, 4 would be a little bit constraining. How did I come up with this region? Yeah, that's true. So, there's actually a reason I'm surprised I haven't defined here. Because, no, not you. You. If I make this an X region, nope, an X region, then I can certainly say there are at least X in this part. Solved several new puzzles. Look at this go. I can't believe I never thought of that. Okay. That doesn't get me any better approaches to this puzzle, though, it looks like. Yeah. Not a surprise. Does get me some more trash, though. Found a nice little 0 plus. I don't know. Let's go look at another level. Okay, this might be a simpler version of the last rule. That would be nice. It's an intersection of two negatives, but at least it's small numbers. So a mine here would break things because it would force a mine here, which forces a mine in both of these to satisfy the one, breaking the 0. So, I guess we could say some other things just deriving from negative regions if we wanted. In a region of if in a region marked X, if there are at most like, what I want to point out is that you can't ever fill both of these, right? Because if you did, there wouldn't be enough space out here to get the total to where we want. So, in the same way that I derived, oh, well, there must be at least one between these two, I want to say there must be at most one between these two. And I have to figure out how to express that in terms of variables and areas. I don't think it'll help with this puzzle, but in general, it's a nice thing to know. If the space outside is at most is exactly, I guess, x plus y plus k, then we have at most, no, why do I need the k? Good question. Then don't we have at most y here? That's true. If it's a region marked X, here X is 1. And I guess we would be choosing y as 2 in this, y is 1 in this area. There's a most 1 here. Yeah, that seems useful. Yeah. It applies an awful lot. It applies to every negative clue in the universe, but it marks a few squares. And as predicted, doesn't help at all here. Okay, let's just, well, I was gonna say move on, but oh boy, it's been an hour. I feel like I just started. I solved very few puzzles this episode, still trying to understand what to do with all these negative regions. I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.